And turn on the live captions. Okay. Good morning. If you're just joining us, you'll want to open up your chat. I'm putting in a link to the agenda, which has all the links for that we'll be looking at today. So snag that link. Go ahead and open it up. It'll open up as a Google Doc. I'm screen sharing it right now so you can see what it looks like. So let's go ahead and get started. It's 10:47. I want to honor your time and give you guys as much time as possible to play today. So this workshop is about designing a Google site-based class introduction website, or what is commonly been called recently a liquid syllabus, right? So that's what we're going to be talking about. I'm going to show you some examples, and we're going to actually just look at how do you do this using Google Sites. So that's our goal. So before we get started, just kind of some ideas about why I use this kind of a site with my students and what are some of the benefits of having something like this. So first of all, it's a nice way to start developing your presence as an instructor with your students. It's a little less formal than just the syllabus or even meeting in class. So it gives you another opportunity to start building community within your class. And part of that is by what you actually put on the site and the language you use and all those kinds of things. So this isn't really intended to just be, I'm going to copy my traditional syllabus and put it on this website, right? This is a little bit different approach. The other thing that it is really helpful for is that in the instance that maybe it hasn't happened to me, but let's say Canvas went down. And especially if you're a fully online class or really dependent on Canvas to interact with your students, if the students have the link to this site, it's a place you can go in and post an announcement, maybe offer some attachments, so that you're not totally out of touch with your students who are obviously going to probably panicking if that happens. But there's just a backup. So that's a nice little added plus. Here's the link to the agenda for those of you that are just joining us. So do it again. I'm going to keep seeing that agenda pop up so that those that join us get it. So before we get started, this is based on the use of a Google site to develop your class introduction site. So I want to just kind of get an idea of how comfortable people are with using Google apps. So there is a link here to a poll, and if you could click on that, it should take you right to the link. And then I'm going to stop sharing and open up that link. Let me put the agenda in one more time in case somebody didn't get it. It's in the chat. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing, go to the survey. All right, I see people are starting to respond, so it must be working.
How do I get onto the poll, Becky?
The link is on the agenda. It says
so
poll.
I just go to
yeah,
the
you just
agenda.
click on that and it should take
Okay.
you there.
Okay.
This is just really helpful for me to get a sense of my audience and see where people might need more support or more questions. If you're just joining us, the agenda with the links is in the chat. I've just placed it there again in case you didn't get it. All right. Well, this is really good to know. So it's looking like about half of us have not used them. The second question. Yeah, Google Docs. I think most of us, that's been our first exposure to the Google suite of apps. Sometimes you may be using these and not even know that they are based on these apps because somebody's just set it up and you're just filling it in or doing whatever, especially true on forms. Okay. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing this. This is really helpful. Thank you for giving me some feedback, just so I have a sense of where we are starting. There's a link for the agenda if you did not get it already. So let me do this then. So for those of you that are new to Google, all the different apps, the first thing you're going to want to do is obviously have a Google account. If you have a Google account, then you're going to want to have the Google Drive, right? So let me share what mine looks like. Here we go. So once you set up an account and have a Google Drive, then you can make subfolders and you can store things here. But what it allows you to do is have documents that you can share with others. There's a link to the agenda if you just came in. So the Google Drive is where everything kind of lives. So when you get a Google document, if you should have it set to where if it's been shared with you, it'll show up on your drive. It'll go into your folders. All right. So these are my folders. This is actually all the way back here. My drive shows all my different stuff in here. And then I have specifically for Citrus and today's Flex Day. And then here's the agenda that I have shared with you and a sample template we're going to take a look at. So if you're going to do a new document, or a sheet or slides or a form, and there's a whole list here, Google Sites, which we're going to take a look at today. So these are the apps that are available through a Google account, and the easiest way to access them is through Google Drive. I'll just stop a second there. Are there any questions about accessing a Google? Yeah, Tasha. Oh, I'm not here. You're still muted.
So my daughter, who's more tech savvy than I am with Google Drive, set up a Google Drive for my emails and certain things. So I have a Google account, but I don't want to do anything to delete the Google account that I already have.
Oh, then you just use the one you're using. Yeah, that's fine. So you can do like on mine, I showed in my drive, I have personal folders and then I have one for Citrus. So you just make folders in there to keep stuff separate. So you would want to use your existing one.
Okay, so where would I set up the folders? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. If you want to add a folder, you just go to new folder.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty, I mean, it's kind of hard to break like a lot of software, right? So I've learned a lot of mine by just going around and pushing buttons to see, oh, that's where I can do that. Oh, I didn't know I could even do that, right? So some of that is really just kind of playing around with it a little bit, but that's the best way to do it is just kind of start looking at what are your options, but you're going to find that you're going to be using the new a lot. You can also file upload. So let's say your syllabus is a Word doc, but you want to put it into a Google Doc because for whatever reason, you can upload Word files, PowerPoint files, and they will convert them to a Google Doc or Google Slides. So you can, if you have things, you don't have to like totally remake them. You can just upload existing documents into your Google Drive using the file upload. So that's something to keep in mind. It doesn't require redoing everything.
And does it retain the format, or does the format, like, for example, if I have outline format, is that going to be
Yeah,
distorted?
no, the format, it usually transfers across, straight across. I've had to do very little, if any, format changes.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Becky, would you mind uploading the agenda to the chat one more time, please?
Sure, absolutely.
Thank
Let me
you.
get the chat open. There you go. Did it come up?
It did, thank you.
Uh-huh. All right. So let me go back to the agenda. Okay. So pull up my chat because it always likes to hide. There we go. All right. So I'm going to just show you a sample of what I've done, one of my sites. So here is the link that I gave you. So you are free to take a look at that. So, but I'm going to open it. So are you all now seeing my site? Not the agenda anymore? Okay, good.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so this is the one that I've set up for my spring 2022, sounds very weird, my 101 class. And so it looks kind of pretty much like a traditional website. This is the menu that kind of moves around. So course essentials, so some of this is similar to things you put in a course syllabus. But they're just things that you want students to be able to access easily and maybe want to know before the first day of class when you hand out a syllabus, especially if you're meeting face-to-face and they're getting them that way. So course description, textbook information. I put some policies on here, attendance, late work, communication policy. I share this because this class is a hybrid, so we'll be doing some, half of the work will be on Canvas. So I put in the netiquette, rules of netiquette for them to take a look at. So goals are basically the student learning outcomes for the class. I give a little kind of try to put it into student understanding of what a student learning outcome is. I share what are some of the learning plans that we have, some unit plans for the class, so they can kind of see some of the topics we'll be talking about. And then I include a page that I call a personal learning history. And this is the part where I'm making a good connection and establishing my presence in the class. So this is just just what it says, personal learning history, a little bit of my background, things that I'm comfortable sharing. So students get a sense of me as a whole person. So that's a page that I have on there. So, okay, so question, why would you use Google Docs instead of Canvas? So again, so the main reason that it's really helpful is that it's outside of Canvas. Canvas is only available to students once the semester term starts and once they're opened. This is something, so I send out a letter to my students a week or so before the beginning of the semester, and I include the link to this site. So they can get in and start looking and getting information about the class that before they can access all that information in Canvas, because I don't publish my Canvas class that early, right? So that gets published like right before the start of the semester, but this I send out a week or two ahead. And so students can start to get a sense of who I am and what the class is like, all of those kinds of things, that whatever I choose to share on there. So that makes this available to them. So that's why instead of Canvas, the other option, which I showed on the agenda, it's on the second page, if you scroll down, you can actually have it added, the link, you can add it to the course description in the class the class schedule. So students, when they are going through, the link will show up in the description. So if you look on the agenda, there's actually a sample. I just did a screenshot of what it looked like from one of my classes. So this is just, and then I have a link for resources, some different campus resources that students might want to take advantage of, and a little bit more language about what I see my role is as their instructor. So it's really as simple or as complex as you want. I know I've seen some that are just a single page, and it's just maybe some people on the home page, I embedded a photo, but sometimes I've embedded a video just welcoming them. So it's just a place where they can get to know me. So some people don't really go much beyond just a single page, and that's totally fine too. It's just whatever you want to do. And I've kind of built mine over the last couple of years, so you can kind of decide what content you want to have. And these are just some options. Obviously, my contact information about the class up at the top here. So what you actually put into it is really going to be driven by what kind of information you think would be really helpful for your students to have prior to class, or outside or in addition to what you provide through Canvas and through your class syllabus. So any questions looking at this sample of mine that before we move on? Okay. I'm going to go back to the agenda. Okay. So that was a sample site. Look at mine, and then while I'm on the agenda, I'll scroll down here and show you. Here is the sample of what it can look like. Let me make this a little bit bigger. There, so you can see right here is the screenshot of the blurb that actually was in the class calendar for my class. And so students can actually access this link even before they've registered for the class. So that's another advantage, is students can see a little bit about your class before they even register. And so they know what they're signing up for. So it's another benefit of it. All right, so let's talk about how do you get started. So I've got a link here for you to this, the website where you actually create a Google site. So we're going to take a look at that. You can just click on it in the agenda and it'll open up the page. So this is opening up mine. So, but it'll look similar, but these are just different ones that I've had. So this is like the home for Google Sites. It looks similar to how it comes up when you are doing Google Docs or any of the other Google Suite. So the one way you can do is to just start with, they have templates here. So like I said in the agenda, I encourage you to maybe start with the one that is, where to go here, education. So if you click on that, it's going to open up, just you can use it as a template. And I know that's how I started the first time I had a Google site and developed one. I actually took a class through @ONE that was talking about how to, it was actually about equity and inclusion and those kinds of issues. But one of the ways that the instructor thought about how you interact with students was through using something like a liquid syllabus or an introductory website for your students so they can get a sense of you and about the class. And so she sent us a template that we used. So this is one that's just provided on Google Sites on their website that gives you just a starting point, but everything is flexible. Let me just move this over here, sorry. All right, so this is the menu bar that you use to create the different aspects of the pages. So you can insert a text box, excuse me, you can insert a text box, you just click on it. You can insert images, you can embed a link. So for like a video, you can go to Google Drive and pull out things, and then you have options for layouts. So for example, in this template, they have like class overview. So they give you that. So you could use that, or you could take out all this text and put something else in here. You can personalize it. These are the ones that have little images. Those are set to be an image. So they have the little icon of like an image, but you can take that out. You can just delete it, click on it, hit the trash can. Let's say you wanted to put a text box there instead. You can just take this text box and move it up here. And there, now you have a text box instead of a place for an image. So again, oh, I don't want the text box after all, I'm gonna take that out. Maybe you want something else. So
Can you show us how to do that again, Becky?
sure, absolutely. So over here, you're under insert on the right-hand side. So when you're in insert, if you click on any of these, you're telling it you want to insert.
I don't see where your arrow is, where the insert is.
It's on the right-hand side of the page.
Right-hand side. Oh, you know what? My everybody's
Is your chat
faces-
covering it?
Yeah, my everybody's faces is covering it. So let me move it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's what it was. All right.
Yeah, I had to move it for me too. Yeah.
Okay,
So yeah.
okay.
So yeah, you would choose these and you can insert whatever you want to insert.
Now it's clear. Thank you.
Okay.
Becky,
And then
really quick, can I ask you, how did you get to this page again?
it's on the agenda.
Oh,
the-
okay, so I was just wondering, and when I get in here, can I just click on something and get this this format so that I can start creating one?
Yeah, I suggested using the classroom template, I think it's called, or education template.
Uh-huh.
And that's this one. It'll
Got
look
it.
like this. Yeah.
Okay.
And then yeah. Anything else before we move on and start talking about layouts? So I know for me, when I first started, I kind of kept a lot of the template and changed colors and text and images to just make it my own. You could totally start with a blank one. I'm not a big fan of doing that kind of stuff. I always like to start with some kind of template that helps me think about how I want to organize it. But you can, and so you can at any time you can change the color, you can all of that kind of stuff. So let me show you, that'll be over. So over here, you have colors. So let's say I don't like yellow, which I don't really, not really my thing. So maybe I want to change the color. Part of that is going to be, let's see.
You need to go to themes in the top corner by pages, and then those themes are that's where the themes are I think controlled by.
Right.
Yeah.
So that changes the, yeah, that's right. Thank you. It's been a while since I've done that. So, but in here, once you get in here and get in a theme, then you can change the colors. So in this first one is custom, so you can create your own.
So it looks like, Becky, that it's like not intimidating at all. It's just something that you would just sit around and play around with. Like, what are the pages? What are the
Absolutely.
themes? What it, just kind of play around.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really, it's kind of, I don't know, for me, it's really fun and because you get to be a little more creative and think about like, look at all these different styles and they have fonts associated with them. Like what kind of like speaks to you as a way you want to represent your class? Do you want something more traditional? You want something more artsy, that kind of thing. And then of course you can always, if you don't like the ones they have, you can always do the custom and just play around a little bit more with it. Then if you wanted to, you can, and there's other things down here. So let's talk about layouts. So this is actually, so we're gonna, so you can also duplicate a section here. So if you had something you wanted to repeat on another page or lower on a page, you can duplicate something. Or if you want to duplicate it, move it somewhere else, you can use the trash can again to just delete. So if I wanted to take this one out, I can just delete it. And then if you wanted to, so over here is where you have the pages. So let's say you wanted to add a page. So I'm going to just say this page. So now I'm on the new page, practice page, and then I can go back and I can say, oh, I want 3 images and then a little place to put text. So you just use these layout templates to help you decide what elements you want on that page. So those are options that are available there for you. I probably would say I use, go ahead.
So Becky, like when you did this, if you move up just a little bit, there's a picture of a little boy and a little girl, but obviously since we're teaching at the college level, can we, or no, 2 little girls. So if we're teaching at the college level, would there be pictures there that we could choose of college students, or do we just, you know, add our own, or?
So pictures, of course, are always tricky because you have to worry about if they are Creative Commons and you can use them, and you have to worry about copyright issues. And so there are pictures that are available from Citrus. If you want Citrus images, that's what I tend to default to, unless it's something that's mine. Or you can go and add a picture and it'll let you select, you can let's see.
So that picture that we see that on that practice page that you put up, was that just automatically part of the
Yeah,
program?
this was a template. So I think they expect that you would go here and change the image.
Okay, and then if we want to use a picture from Citrus, how do we have access to those?
Well, that's another question altogether. I'd have to check on that. I know that they're available.
Is there someone we would contact for that?
I am trying to remember. I'll look it up while you guys are playing around, because I'm going to give you some time to play around with this. I'll go back and look and see where I got mine. I think it's through like external relations. That office, I think, has all those images and they're stored. I think you can actually get them through the not the portal, but the intranet, right? So, but I'll double check.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. So then you have these options of different layouts. You can add pages just by hitting the plus button. So you can, however you want to do that. And then you can, so here you can so you can collapse a collapsible group. That's kind of fun. So it's like if you had something that you basically kind of want to pull down menu that will then collapse back up, that allows you to create one of those. Table of contents, that's allows you to have what I had on mine, where it has a table of contents. You have to give a header to the pages and it'll create a table of contents for you. You can have an image carousel where there's several images that move or rotate. You can add a button. So say you wanted to add a button for, I don't know, look here. And then you'd have to put in a link. Maybe you want it to link back to the home page, but it puts a little button. So then if it was for the home page, you would want to put home. So if they're on a back page and you want them to be able to go home by clicking on a button, then they can click this. So you can add that. You can add a divider line. That's definitely something I know that I did. So there you go. It just stays with whatever theme you're using. It'll just add a divider line and then you can move this around. I wanted it up above, not below. So you can just click and drag. You can insert a YouTube video. What you can put in is just like really exhaustive list. This is really helpful if you wanted to actually embed a Google Doc or a Google Slide or Google Sheets or Google Forms, charts, so you can have the ability to embed things into one of your pages as well. So this one is pretty much, this first one that's on insert is pretty much how you build different elements on a page for your site. And then this one here is where you can add the pages. And then we looked at themes already that allows you to pick font and color, those kinds of things. Let me go back to my agenda. Let's see my notes to myself. Okay. So that is enough to get you started. So I really wanted you to take the time to just play around with this. So to do that, again, I'm back on the agenda. I'll put the link in the chat again in case somebody came in. Oops. Okay, that should be the link to the agenda. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and just open up the floor for questions before you start playing around with this. So if you want to just click on that link to go to the Google Sites, and then I'll be here. We can share a couple different ways. You can just screen share your whatever you're working on if you have a question, or if you get something up and going, you can always just send me the link. But I'm probably not going to be ready for that right away. So, yeah, Katie, you had a question.
Yeah, I was just wondering, how do we make it clear to students that this is just informative and that the actual class is on Canvas? Because I'm worried that students might look at this, think, oh, I've clicked off this. This is where I go for the class.
Well, it partly is how you present it, right?
Okay.
So when I send the link with my to my students in my welcome letter, I make that really clear.
Okay.
That these, yeah, it has a different purpose. The same thing on the link, that obviously if you're giving them just a link on the class schedule, and so students are maybe not even registered in your class yet, then you want to make sure that the language that you have on the site itself, it's really clear that this is not, that this is the purpose of this site. Good question. Yeah, Tasha.
2 questions. First, is it possible to download our entire Canvas into Google Docs so that we would have it backed up?
So you can you can upload things. So you'd have to have whatever documents or files. It has to be in some form that is downloadable and uploadable. But you can put anything you want into your Google Drive. It's just going to be converted to a Google Doc or a Google Slide, something like that. So
But you can't save the entire Canvas course as well.
No, Canvas, the only way Canvas allows you to do that is to do a class export where you actually just save that really big file, and then it only opens back up in Canvas. To my knowledge, I don't know of any way you can save a Canvas class outside of the Canvas platform.
The problem with downloading it is you only have access to it for 30 days or whatever. If you don't have another Canvas course to upload it into, if you don't have another Canvas shell.
Oh, well, I just don't. So, okay, Tasha, this is kind of, we're going off on a Canvas question, but if you want, no, it's okay. I want to answer your question. If you wanted, what I usually do is at the end of a semester, I do one of those class export files and I save it on my hard drive, not in another class. And then when I'm ready to use it, I upload it into the class when that shell is available.
Great idea. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Any other questions about the sites?
You also mentioned, I had a second question, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, that's right,
I'm one
sorry.
of those students that sits in the classroom and keeps raising. But I'm engaged if I'm doing
Yeah.
Okay, so my second question was, you had mentioned that that Citrus College has images that we could download into our Canvas or other, where do we find those images?
Yeah, I'm gonna look at that while you guys are playing around. I'm gonna go back and verify where I've had them for so long. I have to go back and remember where I got them. But I will go do that while you guys play around on the Google sites, and then I'll let you know.
Cool, thank you.
Uh-huh. Any other questions at this point?
Someone had a really good question about accessibility.
You do have to be aware of accessibility. So Google Doc, just like Word and Adobe, has a feature where you should be checking for accessibility. So those kinds of things are available in the Google Suite too. Let me.
Yeah, so the question was, I'm reading it, it was from Amanda Kanya. It says, is there a way to check if the site meets accessibility standards? And are there any privacy concerns? So like, I know that Canvas, you can check, you know, on Canvas itself, whether your document at any certain point is accessible or not. Would Google Site have that? And also, I love that question about the privacy concern. Thank you, Amanda. Those are great questions.
Okay. I am looking about, I just generally make sure things I put are accessible. I'm trying to remember where that is. That's another thing I'm gonna have to look up. So talk to me a little bit more though about what privacy concerns would you have? Because no live work takes place on this site. You're in control of what gets shared. Students aren't sharing anything back on it. So what's the privacy concern question? Help me kind of tease that out.
I guess two things. If I wanted to post previous students' work there for examples of images for my photography classes, would that be an issue? And then also, can anyone find this site? You know.
Okay, yeah, right. So you have control over how public and how private you make your site. So that's one answer. The other one is, sure, if you're going to share student work, it's just like any other venue where you would share student work, you're going to have permission.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm seeing some other questions. As far as I know, there's not a limit to the number of sites you can have. I have quite a few running myself, so I don't know of any limitation. I haven't run into it if there is. Let's see, I'm scrolling back through the chat. Oh, thank you for sharing. For sharing Erickson, that Pixabay link. That's a good choice. Okay. Any other questions?
So to be clear, anybody, like if we decide to put something like this on Banner, anybody who's interested in looking at the course, in terms of going back to Amanda's privacy question, anybody who's interested in looking at that course will have access to whatever it is that we post.
Yes, right.
Okay.
You control what you want to share. So that's what I'm saying. Some people keep this very simple and others, you know, put more detail, but it's still ultimately up to you what you put on there and what you share and the degree to which you share it. So backing up a little bit. So since we have quite a few people that are not as familiar working with the Google Suite, is that it has settings on there. You have the option of anybody can see it if they can find it, or only people with the link that you give them can see it. So you control access to this work also. And I gave you a link on the back of the agenda. There are some additional websites. One of them is from @ONE, Benefits of a Liquid Syllabus. Also, Humanizing Pre-Course Contact with a Liquid Syllabus. That's Michelle Pacansky-Brock. She was the teacher that got me going on this. How to use Google Sites is just a basic tutorial. So if you want to dig a little bit deeper, that's available to you. And then finally, sharing on how to publish and share your site once you have it ready. There's a link there for a site that's actually provided by Google that tells you how to walk through that whole process and the decisions you make on how you want it to be shared. I think that is all I had on the agenda. Okay, so if you want to play around, I'm going to go find where I got the images from. And I'm also going to do a little quick dig into where the accessibility features are on the Google sites, and I will come back. So any questions? I'll still be here, but I'm going to be playing around behind the scenes. Okay. Please go in and try it out. Like I said, you can't break it. It's just a lot of fun, and it's a way to share a little bit about you and a little bit about your class with students in a maybe non-traditional way. You can get as creative and personal with it as you want. All right. I'm going to go look up about those images and accessibility. Okay, so I looked up as far as the accessibility question, and they do not have an accessibility checker. So you ultimately, it just means you have to be aware if it's an image, you're going to need to have alt text, right? You don't want to have funky color contrast and those kinds of things. So the same kind of things you keep in mind when you're doing something on Canvas or in a Word doc, those same things apply. They just don't have a checker. So obviously, if you're uploading a document, you can check it before you upload it. And I'm not finding that access to those images that you can use. I will look that up. So if you are interested in getting access to those images, send me an email and I will send out an email to those that are wanting that link, and I'll do a little bit more research.
This is a pretty specific question. As I was playing around, I
Uh-huh.
imported text and it went in a different color than the other, and I can't find the color button for text.
Okay. You pull up. I think, Katie, if you want something other than the color, then you probably have to go with custom.
Okay. Well, no,
Yeah,
it just, It
The
came
theme.
as black.
Uh-huh.
And then when I, for some, like, so what I was writing in there was black, but when I copied and pasted from something else, it went to a different color. Like it kept something from a, like it changed the color from what was set. So I was just curious
Oh,
if you knew how to do it. So it
well,
might
when
just
you,
be the clear formatting or something.
yeah, clear formatting, or yeah, that's probably the easiest way to do it. And then
Okay.
it should go to the default. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so Erin, yeah, so the different topics on the table of contents are different pages. If you added in additional headings, you could have it go through, you could have on your table of contents things that are within a page, right? So there are ways for you to do headings. You have to use the heading feature, and then you can set up your table of contents so it does not just the page title. I just use the page title as the heading that everything gets put under. Does that make sense? So I will share, there is a page you can look at about accessibility concerns from with Google. So again, this is, they don't have a checker, but they just have this page that tells you what you need to keep in mind. So alt text for images, high color contrast, use an informative link text. So a lot of this is really similar to what we've learned about best practices on Canvas, text size and alignment, all those kinds of things. Use numbered and bulleted lists rather than just tabbing over, typing in the number, all those kinds of things. So Sites Help is a pretty good website. I give you that link for that. It's the same one that has about how to publish. And so you can see there's all these different categories of questions you can use to find what you might want to do. So keyboard shortcuts, all sorts of different options. Is anybody willing to share what you've got so far? Where you're thinking of going with this? Okay, Terry, go ahead.
Did you say Terry?
Yes, I did. Sorry.
Okay, I'm just gonna screen share real quick. Host disabled participant screen sharing.
Oh, let me see if I can change that.
See if I can find what I did. There we go.
Here we go. Okay, you should
All
be
right.
able to share now.
Here we go. Let me do that. And I gotta find what I had. So this is something I played around with. It's some kind of an idea I've had for a while now of creating a site like this that describes different resources where one can either play around with programs that allow them to better understand electromagnetic radiation, otherwise known as light. And so I just fooled around a little bit with kind of a header page. I wanted to get a table of contents in here, but it kind of defaulted right below the header here. But I was able to also put a button in, little definition here. And so I found out that you can, where did I find that? Play around with this. And I just discovered it and I've forgotten what I did. How do you test it again?
Oh, you have to go into preview.
Preview, where was that again? Sorry.
It's the one with, let me see.
I just saw it and I lost it. It's up here somewhere, I think.
Yeah,
Preview,
there
we
it
go.
is. Yeah.
So the little button feature is kind of cool. I haven't done much with that in Canvas, but if you click on it, it takes you to a different site. I just set it
Yes.
up at Wikipedia site so students could, or whoever wants to check it out. Anyway, it's kind of fun to play with. I hadn't used this before, so really thank you for not only the opportunity to share, but also putting on the talk here.
Well,
I'll
thank you
stop
for
right there.
sharing because,
Oh, you bet.
yeah, because that's another way. Thank you for sharing that because it's another way of using this, right? A lot of us link out to different websites in our classes, in our Canvas class, right? So maybe there isn't a website that has all the stuff that you want in one place. You could create one of these and then link it into your Canvas class, right? So just like you send them to a website for information about some other area of your content, maybe you want to design your own. So this is another way of doing it's an OER, right? But it's a website instead of a text. Great. Anybody else want to share?
I guess I can.
Okay.
Let's see, I want to share that. So I was just trying to have it be, I'm just starting, of course. So just the home has an introduction with a little overview and why art history is good. And then I was thinking I'd put a course outline in just with basic information, textbook information so that students know. And I was just going to mention that I suggest renting textbooks so that it's cheaper, so that students who might be concerned about that have some information. And then just basic policies, because one of my concerns about creating this is that it already takes me forever to get my Canvas courses up and running with all the new dates and everything like that. And so I wanted maybe something that was a little bit more generic, that students would kind of get some information about. And then I was thinking I would put a Canvas somewhere on here where it says once you've enrolled in the class, Canvas will be where you access the information from.
And thank you for sharing because this is another way. So the way that Katie did it is the menus at the top like that. So instead of having it like on mine where it's on the side, a more traditional looking Canvas looking kind of menu, you can do it along the top. That's the other option for doing your menu.
How
So
do you
Gloria,
get it
you
on
want
the
to?
side?
How do you have to? So you have to have more than one page. to start with. So then once you have more than one page, let me pull mine back up. Okay. So if you go to, let me share my screen. I want to make sure it's in the right place. Let me share my screen. So the question about where you control where your menu is under settings. And so right here, you have the choice. Do you want it at the top, like Katie just showed, or the side? And then it takes it based on what it's at, when it's a heading. So like a note says right here on this, add headings and they will appear in your table of contents. And that just playing around made me realize this too. Here is you have the option, you can add a citrus logo if you wanted. You could add a, oops, you can add a logo. You can upload it, all those kinds of things. That's another option. You could have this citrus logo up in the top of your page. Okay, Gloria, were you going to share?
Sure.
Okay.
So I didn't do much. I was just going in and looking in at all the settings and stuff. But I changed the image for the banner, which if you click on change image and hit select, it also gives you a Google search, which is where I got this word cloud for physics. I'm a big fan of the Bitmoji, so I included one there. And I wanted to see how it embedded things like this. So this is a simulation where students can play around and do stuff. So it'd be really nice to have all of these in one place, so I wouldn't have to keep embedding it in Canvas all the time. So
And you use the embed code to do that, right?
correct.
All right. Yeah. Looks good.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, it is fun. It is fun. You can kind of go down a rabbit hole with this stuff.
Yeah.
How do you get the tools pane on the right? I'm not sure how to make mine disappear. Mine automatically opens up. So so Ralph, had you already published it, or are you still looking at your site in progress?
Yeah, when I open a new document, it's not there. So I don't know what to do. It seems convenient having it off on the side.
Okay. Do you want to screen share and like so I can see what you're doing?
Sure.
Okay.
So I just hit the new document, or I could select a template, right? But if I just hit a new document.
Oh, okay. Oh, are you trying to create a document to put into your site?
I don't know what I'm trying to do.
Okay, so if you're wanting to start a site, then you have to go to not Docs, but Google Sites. So if you go to Drive, go down to your Drive button. And then now when you do new, you should have the option to do a site. There you go. Google Sites. It should be there. Yeah, there you go.
So what's the difference? So the document is,
It's just a word processing tool. It's like Word.
okay,
So yeah, it's different. Sites actually builds a website.
okay, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, yeah. Now you can upload and embed Google Docs and Google Slides into a Google site. So, but this is really a website creation tool.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh. Anybody have other ideas? We've had some great examples, other ways that you're thinking you could use this other than just as like a syllabus tool, maybe some other ways you think you could use it to provide content to your students or interact with students?
Well, I have a question about that, actually. It was based on what Terry said is, so I don't understand, like, what people were saying, that if they put certain links or something on Canvas, sometimes that doesn't work. So this would be another alternative. That sounds kind of interesting, but I'm not quite sure what that means.
So let's say that you're producing or you're sharing a piece of content and you want students to have opportunities to see examples of it or see it in practice other than just like the textbook and what you already have. So maybe you have a link to, it's just like when you link a YouTube video into your class, but maybe it's a website instead. Maybe there's a website of Spanish scenarios where you want students to go in and pick one of these scenarios and do this with it, right? So instead of copying it and recreating it all, you just link it into your class by embedding a link. And so you can do the same thing with the Google site. You can create your own website and then pull it in as a link somewhere in one of your modules or class assignments or activities so that students can access it.
Okay, so like in my modules, like I have the, my lectures that I post on YouTube, and then I link that, and then I'll link, let's say I have some handouts, and then I could create something like this and then just link that directly onto my module from my Google site.
Yeah, so when you have your site ready, there's a way to get a link that is just like any other link that you can embed into a Canvas page.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you.
Sure. Nikki, can you talk a little bit about what you just said in the chat?
Well, the issue that you all were talking about, like the base issue, is what do you have when something is absolute versus relative referenced? And so an absolute reference never changes, and a relative reference generally will change a lot. And inside of Canvas, you can make links for things that are relatively referenced. So if you're in a web browser, you can go to the top, click a link in that particular browser and make a link inside your class. But as you update and change classes, all of those break. And so having a liquid syllabus or having a linked repository of things you want to keep track of to use for classes means that you'll have an absolute reference. You'll basically be creating your own little Alexandria library of the most important things that you want to be able to reference, things you use really often. If there's graphics that are key that you use really often, sometimes when I copy a class over in Canvas, they disappear. And that's not because Canvas is evil. It's because sometimes Canvas, as they are resorting and juggling all of our stuff, links break, how they name things break. And so it might still be in there someplace, but it's not linked anymore. And that can be based on so many different things it's not worth worrying about. And so being able to, or when you share things across classes, sometimes the way they construct shells changes. And so some of those links to things that are 3 or 4 clicks from the main page disappear. So ultimately, having these things on the side can be, Justina. I'm trying to be fair. It's what we're paying for now. But you know, I think about like for Katie's content or Amanda's content, because they're using digital items, that those types of things get lost really often when you transfer a class. Having a site like this can make it really easy. But my comment was just using Dropbox. I can create an absolute link. And so it's always there. Like I've never had an issue with it. And I've never had an issue with it on my liquid syllabus either, because as long as I don't do something in Dropbox, it's far more stable than the links as they're archived each semester inside of Canvas.
That's a great idea. Thanks for sharing that. I've never thought of that.
So,
Yeah, that's
so like,
definitely happened to me with broken links.
so like I'm thinking of what just Nikki just said, like for my homepage where I provide a lot of links for students, I could instead, like on Canvas, my Canvas homepage, I could provide a link on my Canvas homepage to my Google site with all the links that won't be broken. Is that something that's possible?
Yeah.
Yeah, because exactly what you're saying, every semester, it's like I'm getting all these Canvas notifications that all the links are broken. So that would take care of that problem, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful, thank you.
We have 2 more minutes. Any final questions or comments?
Becky,
Yes.
it's Cynthia. I wanted to know the Netiquette image that you had, that infographic. I have used that before and I just tried to insert it in my Canvas and it got kicked out like 20 times. So I don't know if, I'm wondering if you could you send me that so that I can
Sure.
share it, or that would be good. And maybe I would put it the way you've got it in this rather than in Canvas.
Yeah, I have it in Canvas too, because there, the Google site is not only for students enrolled, so my intent is for it to be available to other students. So I don't put anything in there that doesn't also show up in Canvas. But I can send you want me to just share the page I have it on?
Yes, because
Okay.
because I just tried to, and maybe it's a matter of importing, exporting, just like other people were saying, and things get lost, but it didn't work. And then I couldn't find another course that I put it on to use it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. I'm going to take a look at mine and make sure it's working. I thought I already checked on it. It looked like it was fine, but I'll
Yeah, it
double
looked
check.
like it was fine. So
Yeah.
I'm sure it's me, but
All right. I'll do that.
Okay, thanks. Okay,
No
appreciate
problem.
it. Okay.
Becky,
Thanks
can I
for
ask you
this,
a
Becky.
question?
That was really nice.
I'm glad you had fun.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Uh-huh.
This is Justina. So I want to create a Google Doc to be able to keep information from students. Like they should fill out the stuff for the SLO. I was using what was it again? SurveyMonkey, but now they've gotten rid of the areas where students can just write comments. You have to pay, I don't know, something like $100
Oh, okay.
to be able to use it. So I know a lot of people are moving to Google Docs. Have you done that before? Like create a Google Doc that allows students to input comments, not just answer a yes or no to a question, or?
Hey,
So you have a couple of, oh yeah, go ahead.
just Google Forms would be the easiest thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Google Forms, and it allows
Yeah.
you to list comments and all of that in there.
It's free.
You can actually, yeah, it's a survey.
Okay, so Google Forms.
Forms, yeah.
Okay, I'll try it. And it's in that same site where the slides are.
Correct.
Okay, super.
And it'll put all the responses in a Google Sheet, which is like in a spreadsheet, so you can read it all there.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Other questions?
You're
All right,
amazing,
well,
Becky.
yes.
Oh, I said you're amazing.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you all came. It was fun. Got some good ideas. I hope you did too. And enjoy the rest of the day. See you all later.
Thanks, Becky. It was great.
Sure, no problem.